Did you hear about the tragedy and alleged murder by Pastor Matthew Dedmon? This was shocking to me. I have been a Christian for years, and these are not frequent occurrences. Please watch this video to the end and tell me in the comments section what is your opinion on this case. Have you ever found yourself wondering how one moment of weakness could unravel a lifetime of faith? For former pastor Matthew Dedmon, a respected spiritual leader, that moment came when he discovered his wife's affair. The resulting tragedy and alleged murder shook not only his life but also the lives of those who trusted in his leadership. In a blink, everything he had built was shattered. But how did it come to this? And more importantly, how does someone who was once seen as a pillar of faith arrive at such a breaking point? The reality is, many believers face overwhelming moments of temptation, pain, and anger. In this video, we'll explore how Dedmon's story speaks to a deeper issue within the church and how we can safeguard our own hearts when we feel like everything is falling apart. The fall of a spiritual leader. When Matthew Dedmon, the former pastor of Heritage Baptist Church in Rogersville, Missouri, was charged with the murder of his wife's lover, it sent shockwaves through the Christian community. Dedmon, who had no prior criminal history, sat in jail for more than 2 years before being offered bail, a long wait for someone who once stood in front of a congregation offering guidance and spiritual support. The tragic events began in May 2022 when Dedmon confronted his wife's lover, 57-year-old Joe Newburn, and allegedly shot him multiple times after discovering their affair. As devastating as the loss of life is, the unraveling of Dedmon's own life and ministry raises important questions about how personal pain can lead even the most devout believers astray. When the devil attacks. Heritage Baptist Church's new pastor, David Dossett, expressed the spiritual weight of Dedmon's fall from grace. He referred to it as the devil's attack, not just on the Dedmon family, but on the church itself. Dossett said, "After the devil attacked the Dedmons and got a hold of Miss Chrissy through an affair, it greatly affected the church and my family as well. It's a stark reminder that spiritual warfare is real and constant. As believers, we aren't immune to temptations or emotional turmoil." But what can we learn from Dedmon's story? How can we protect ourselves and our families from such attacks? Guarding our hearts and minds. As believers, we're called to live above reproach, yet we know all too well that the battle for purity, peace, and forgiveness is fierce. What happened with Dedmon is not just an isolated incident. Many in ministry face personal struggles that, when unchecked, can escalate into devastating consequences. Here are 3 ways we can safeguard our hearts, marriages, and ministries from such tragedy. Accountability. It's easy to lose our way when we're isolated. Surrounding yourself with trusted, godly friends and mentors can make all the difference when you're facing a personal crisis. Prayer and fasting. When spiritual attacks come, our first defense should be to seek God's guidance. Jesus tells us that some trials can only be overcome by prayer and fasting, as mentioned in Mark chapter 9, verse 29. Making this a regular practice will strengthen your spiritual foundation. Counseling and therapy. Too often, people of faith feel that counseling or therapy shows a lack of trust in God. This couldn't be further from the truth. Seeking professional help is a wise way to navigate emotional pain and prevent it from growing into something uncontrollable. Redemption after the fall. Despite the tragedy, Pastor Dossett of Heritage Baptist Church is hopeful for the future. He expressed that although Dedmon's actions had a devastating impact, one mistake does not define who someone is. Dedmon's case has delayed trial dates and ongoing legal battles, but Dossett reminds us of God's grace, even in the darkest of moments. In his written testimony, Dossett highlighted his trust in God's plan for the church and Dedmon's redemption. "I strongly believe a single mistake does not dictate who an individual is," he said. "This is the heart of the gospel: redemption, forgiveness, and grace for those who seek it." Final thoughts. Matthew Dedmon's story is a heartbreaking reminder that spiritual leaders are not immune to failure. It shows us that unchecked pain, anger, and brokenness can lead to life-altering consequences. But it also serves as a cautionary tale for every believer to remain vigilant, to guard their hearts and relationships, and to seek help when needed. No matter where we find ourselves, whether in positions of leadership or simply as followers of Christ, the enemy will try to sow seeds of discord in our hearts. Let us take this tragic story as a sobering reminder to stay grounded in God's word, lean on our community, and never underestimate the power of a moment's decision. Please tell me in the comments section, if you were in Matthew's position, what would you do? Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos.